Story 1. Today is my 50th birthday, and 2 weeks ago, I officially hit menopause. Neither of these bother me as much as when the American Association of Retired Persons started to woo me, and Cracker Barrel started to have clothes that I like. Story 2. I work with a 20-year-old who does not watch television or movies. She does not understand any pop culture references. She also never stops talking and behaves as if she is still in high school, giggling and flirting with a coworker. It is very annoying. Story 3. My eldest son is getting close to the age I was when he was born. Also, rewatching movies from the 1990s and 2000s with the outlook of an adult and realizing I'm now siding with the parents more often than not. Like, yes, young lady, there's a reason why your folks don't like the idea of you dating the braggadocious pothead you have such a huge crush on. Story 4. New generation slang and the fact I don't understand modern technology anymore. Paying with a phone goes beyond me, but I understand it and use it when I forget my wallet. However, when I worked in a souvenir shop and people paid with their watches, that surprised me a lot. Story 5. The realization that some of my favorite games are old enough that someone could have been born after they were released, grown up, and had a child of their own. Story 6. Realizing that kids today have no idea what it means to rewind a movie or a cassette. Explaining how we had to wait for a videocassette tape to go all the way back to the beginning before watching it again makes me feel ancient. Also, seeing people refer to the 1990s as the late 1900s really hits hard. Story 7. When some older teenagers called me, "Sir," I said to them, "I'm not a sir." But then I remembered my age and recent knee pain and thought to myself, "Oh wait, I guess I'm old now." Story 8. For one of my classes, we did reading to third graders. One of the boys in my group mentioned how he was born in 2013 or 2014. I don't remember for sure, and I thought to myself, damn, I am a decade older than these kids. I'm 20 now, and I still feel like I'm 17 or 18. Story 9. Music. Just now I looked up the band that did Six Underground, because I heard a snippet of the song on television. The Sneaker Pimps released that song in 1996, and I would have sworn on a stack of Bibles that song came out around 2015. Yikes. Story 10. The realization that I am no longer cool. I was crazy and carefree, never fit into one group. I hung out with everyone. Everyone liked me. Stoners, jocks, preps, rich, poor, every culture, every religion, every walk of life. I had close friends who were Christian, the weekly youth group type, and then I had friends who were gang members. I was always doing something. I went from moving all over the United States numerous times, coast to coast, then fast forward to now, where my life is much slower and I have been in the same place for 20 years. The people who know me now have no idea that I was once really cool. I am totally an old person, not knowing the popular trends, the most popular music, or even the words that the younger generation is using makes me feel really old. I feel like everyone is in a club that I am not allowed to belong to. Story 11. When some older teenagers called me, "Sir," I said to them, "I'm not a sir." But then I remembered my age and recent knee pain and thought to myself, "Oh wait, I guess I'm old now." Story 12. The fact that I have injuries that appear fixed, but really they just go into hiding for a few weeks to give me a false sense of security. Then, boom, I wake up one morning with a bad back again. Story 13. Everything, I feel I'm stuck in the past. Between the idea of the good old days that in fact were not that good when you take off the rose-tinted glasses of nostalgia, and a future that would be a utopia that never can happen at all. But for a better one, when I see music videos and there's written live on stage 2004, then I'm like, wait, that was just yesterday, before I realized 20 years have passed and it's now 2024. Story 14. When bands release a 20th, 25th, or 30th anniversary album remaster that I know came out in the last decade or so, times like that I just need to go outside and walk around the block, get some fresh air and process things. Story 15. I'm 42, and honestly, I don't feel that old. If anything makes me feel old, though, it's the extra weight I'm carrying. If I lost that, I reckon I would feel sprightly again. Story 16. Realizing that there is much more to worry about than just going to school on time, completing homework and studying for exams, like navigating relationships, managing expectations, dealing with uncertainty, and figuring out who you are and what you want from life. Story 17. Explaining to someone what Ethernet is can be interesting, especially when comparing it to a phone jack. There is now a generation who only knows Wi-Fi, which is almost ironic. Story 18. Someone I worked with a few years ago overheard a conversation I was having about Sonic the Hedgehog and growing up with the games. She immediately chimed in, "Oh my God, I love Sonic. I used to play that on the GameCube when I was little." Story 19. When I do rides for Uber and I go to a place I haven't been to in forever, I just did this on Monday. I had to bring someone to my high school, and God, it's been 15 years since I graduated. Story 20. Honestly, Instagram and TikTok, I just don't get them, and they make me feel like society has passed me by a bit. I don't understand the language either. They both just make me feel very, very old. Story 21. For me, it is definitely seeing how fast technology evolves. I remember when having a flip phone was the coolest thing, and now smartphones are practically tiny computers. Story 22. A parade of loud cars drives by my house every Saturday. It's a literal parade of cars and motorcycles. All of them have loud sound systems, and their exhaust is so loud that it shakes stuff off my shelf. Every Saturday, I want to run out of my house and tell those punks to keep it down. Maybe shake my fist at them. I'm 35. Story 23. When I hear myself saying, "Well, back in my day, I was born in 1970. There used to be many men I'd see with Vietnam ball caps showing the locations, ships they served on, and tour dates. I always made a point to thank them for their service, and when I worked at the bike shop, I'd give them or any service member really a discount. I don't see as many now, and the guys I do see are old. My grandfather served in the Navy during World War II, and when I think of his stories, it hits me that he's been gone a long time now. An uncle was a Korean War veteran, and he's been gone even longer. And I swear the first Gulf War was just a decade or so back, wasn't it?" Story 24. The gym sometimes makes me feel uncomfortable, especially since there is a college nearby. The only good thing is that I'm a gay man, and there's no male equivalent to yoga pants. Story 25. I used to be able to run and play basketball without much thought. Now it takes an extensive stretch and warm-up session to prepare. Story 26. When I mention something normal from when I was younger online, I get completely disbelieved or told my parents must have been very neglectful. Being out drinking and going to gigs until 2 a.m. at 15. Going to school on a public bus and a train by myself at the age of 7, etc. I await the two responses and the negative reactions for just remembering accurately. Story 27. Arthritic joints. Ankles, knees, lower back, yes, my upper back too. I'm a mess. And shoulders. Use it or lose it, brothers and sisters, use it or lose it. Story 28. I'm a 32-year-old male, and I'm at the gym when this attractive girl comes up and asks, "Sir, are you using this piece of equipment?" I was mortified. I always get comments on how young I look compared to my real age, but that was a reality check. Story 29, very minor, but the age range who will not remember COVID-19 already exists and are fully conscious humans. The lockdown started almost 5 years ago, after all, and there are already kids in elementary school who will not remember the pandemic. Story 30. I don't want to go to a bar or club all night on weekends anymore. Now I prefer some kind of activity during the day or meeting friends no later than 9 p.m. Story 31. Lately, I've been noticing some changes in myself that really make me feel old. I suddenly started eating things I never liked before, becoming more like my mom in ways I never imagined. I now absolutely hate dirt, avoid going out to parties, and can't stand noisy environments anymore. The biggest wake-up call? I actually pay bills. It's like I've shifted into full-on adult mode, and it's both surprising and a little shocking. Does anyone else feel like they've turned into their parents without even realizing it? Story 32. 25-year-old coworkers talking about how 30 is so old was annoying at first, but we give them a hard time back. 25-year-old coworkers not knowing who Elmer Fudd is really stung. Story 33. I enjoy a good TikTok scroll, but I have to say that a lot of people there make me feel pretty old. For example, there is this attitude that the world was very different back then. And by back then, They are talking about 2011 or something. This seems to be agreed upon by everyone on the app. 2011 was like 3 weeks ago for me, but these people really seem to think it was the Stone Ages, probably because they were kids not long ago and that's just their perspective. Story 34. 1. Seeing my hair turn gray gradually. Constant reminders on Reddit and all of social media with memes about what getting up in your 30s feels like. Posted as if it's intended to be funny when all it's doing is reminding everyone who sees it that they're never going to be young again. That's just vicious. Leave people be. Story 35. I'm a police officer. We now have rookies at our department who have been here for a few years and were born after I started at the police department. Feels weird. Story 36. In recent family reunions, I asked little kids, "Do you remember me? I used to babysit you." And they have no clue. I used to be in their shoes not too long ago. Story 37. Existing. My body. The younger generations not understanding pop culture references. My son not knowing what my small portable CD player was. Some music. Intense desire for a good lawn. Being excited over practical gifts and appliances. Story 38. I recently started a new job, and the other person who was hired at the same time that I've been training with was born the year I graduated high school. Story 39. I was working with a kid, making small talk. I asked how long he has been with us. He said 4 months and asked me. I told him 18 years. He commented he was born a year before I started working for the company. Story 40. A young kid asked me why the phone app symbol uses such a weird icon. The symbol is a handset. It dawned on me that he had probably never seen a handset, and he thinks all phones are smartphones. I could not believe it. Story 41. I worked in labor and delivery when I was a hospital technician. I did the math, and baby Amber from the neonatal intensive care unit is now a grandmother's age. All my army buddies and school friends are retired, in nursing homes or dead. I used to do 5-kilometer fun runs in black combat boots before breakfast. I am tempted now to drive out to the mailbox. Story 42. I don't like the fast fashion trend, and in 2003 to 12, the children and I were indulged in outdoor games and TV programs. But nowadays, the social platforms every week and month make me feel old to cope with, even though I'm Generation Z according to my birth year. Story 43. When you say, "Oh my God, I loved this song when I was a teenager. Good Charlotte was so good." And the guy standing next to you says, "Who's Good Charlotte? I've never heard of them." Story 44. Modern vehicles. I just want a key to open and start my car. These key fobs with no actual key are problematic. There are settings for unlocking and not unlocking when the fob is within 20 feet of the vehicle. It's over-engineering to have layers of sensory settings for what should be a simple car key. And please wait, updating vehicle software. Again, I just want to get in and drive. Story 45. Movie anniversaries. For example, if you went to the theater this week 20 years ago, you could choose from Blade, Trinity, Ocean's 12, $1 Million Baby, or Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. 20 years. It's crazy. Story 46. When I'm abruptly reminded of how much time has passed, I was going to visit Orlando earlier this year and nostalgically wanted to stop by an old cafe I used to go to all the time in college. I looked it up and found it had closed permanently. Though bummed, I wasn't too surprised, figuring it was another pandemic casualty. Nope, it had closed years prior to COVID. There are so many things in the back of your mind that simply don't exist anymore. This realization has happened quite a few times now and always leaves me with a very particular sadness. Story 47. Realizing that a couple of years ago I was able to run really fast and play sports really well, like soccer twice a week. And now, with a meniscus tear, both of my knees messed up, and 6 hernias in my spine, I realize how old I am and how physically destroyed I am. I miss running, jumping, and living without any pain. Story 48. I was having a conversation with a coworker a few years back, comparing our abundance of gray hair, when he mentioned how he didn't quite have the 50% gray hair mix that I did. My jaw fell. I never thought of my gray hair being that much of my total hair color. I went home and looked in a mirror very carefully, and yes, he was correct. I immediately felt ancient, Story 49. I'm not even old, but I saw a girl say when she was in 5th grade she used to wake up early to watch her favorite show on Netflix before school. When I was in 5th grade, I was watching that show as it was coming out live on cable with a new episode every night. Story 50. One time I was scouring through Omegle when I stumbled upon two girls. One of them looked like Avril Lavigne. I told them that, and the confusion on their faces was followed by, "Who?" I never felt an actual cultural generation gap until then, and I'm not even that old. I'm still in my early to mid-20s. Story 51. Reading comments and seeing all the misspellings and grammatical errors that young people make. They can't carry a conversation, and they're incredibly rude often. Makes me feel old at 46. Story 52. I'm not actually old, but I watched a kid 6 months younger than me get drafted to Major League Baseball last year. Definitely a damn moment for me. Still feels like I should be in middle school. Story 53. Some actors who are younger than me now look middle-aged in movies and television shows. That, and my ankles hurt as I walk down to the kitchen every morning due to being so stiff after a night's sleep.